conversation instead.
That's brilliant.
Robert used to love coming on the bike with us. We used to go everywhere on the Tiger on this one, and we had some great times out together. So really, this, in a way, is a way of remembering Rob. We have grieved for Robert, but I believe that our grief has been tempered a lot because we know that Robert is with God now, and we know that he's in the best possible place, and that our separation is only temporary. He's got his crown in heaven. He's okay. But, from that, we're very pleased to be a part of Bedford Street Angels.
Each time a man stands up for an ideal, or acts to improve the lot of others, or strikes out against injustice, he sends forth a tiny ripple of hope. Those ripples build a current which can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and resistance.
Can you reiterate that this is Street Angels song?
You will have the greatness to bend history, but each of us to work and change a small portion of the event, and then the total, all of these acts will be written in the history of this generation. Thus you and your young compatriots everywhere have had thrust upon you a greater burden of responsibility. I believe that in this generation, those with the courage to enter the conflict will find themselves with companions in every corner of the world. History, the final judge of our deeds, let us go forth to lead the land we love, asking his blessing and his help, but knowing that here on earth, God's work must truly be our own.
He was picked up by 3 youths in the town centre outside of the New York nightclub. He was robbed. They took him to the ATM machines and tried to get money from him that way. They beat him up and eventually threw him over the Engineers Bridge over the River Ouse on the embankment.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've got it's just a bit older than a teen now, but a son that would be out in town on a Saturday night, and yeah, you hear lots of things.
I think it's a mother instinct. You see these vulnerable young people and you just want to be there for them.
Obviously what we do in Street Angels has very much to do with the situation that Robert found himself in. We hope that through the work that we do, that we help to keep people safe.
We always start the evening with prayer, because that's key. Otherwise it's just 2 or 3 oldish people going out on the street on a Saturday night. What's that about? So we make sure we've got God with us.
A bunch of us are basic, first aiders. We carry first aid with us. We also carry water bottles, tea, coffee, emergency blankets to keep people warm, flip-flops to give to girls who've taken their high heels off to stop them cutting their feet on glass. We also have a radio, and we're part of something called NightNet, so we are in regular radio contact with the police and with the bouncers and with CCTV.
It's about doing rather than talking about being a Christian.
Waiting for somebody to sober up enough for a cab to agree to take them home. Keep an eye on anybody that looks maybe a bit the worse for wear. Stop and chat with door staff. Sometimes the police will call us just to come and wait with somebody.
The police officer just asked us to take over looking after this girl. She'd already called her mum, and her mum was on her way to pick her up, but she just wanted us to stand with her and make sure it was okay until her mum got there. The general impression was that this girl had just had a bit too much to drink. That was the impression that I think the police officer, that ourselves and that her mum all had. And it may have been true, but shortly after she had left and gone home, across the road people in the street just started dropping on the pavement.
A young girl whose drink had been spiked. I've not seen that before, but that was quite scary. She looked as if she was having some sort of a seizure.
We were just calming everyone down, keeping them talking, getting details off people to pass on to the paramedics to help them speed up their process.
That night, that happened to several people.
It was quite worrying, but it was good that we could be there to help.
So I notice we're going into the quieter areas now.
Yeah.
But is it just as bad, or is
It's not just as bad, but when if someone's been throwing up or is in a bit of a state, sometimes they seek out a quiet bench or a quiet bit of wall to lean against. So we've occasionally found people to pick up around this stretch of road. Happens every now and then.
So many of the street angels can tell you an account of times when they've just been in the right place at the right time to help somebody.
One of the most memorable occasions was when there was a guy mugged in the street.
We were just out on the high street and it was really, really busy, lots of people, and Daphne just turned to me and said, you know what, I really think like God's telling us to go to the Polish club. I think we'd been there chatting to bouncers for all of about 10 seconds when there was a shout, and across the road an elderly gentleman walking home had been attacked and mugged and had received quite a really bad head wound. He was gushing blood from this head wound.
And we went to help him, and I was quite surprised of somebody who witnessed it called us over and actually spoke to us and explained what he'd seen. The fact that he actually came and confided in us, which really was quite great because it meant he trusted us, but it also meant that the actual person that did it was caught with the police.
And we were just there to make sure the ambulance and police were on their way to call them, just put an emergency blanket over him and just to hold his head still, put a bit of pressure on the wound, that kind of stuff, really basic, but also just to talk to him.
I was walking past a multi-storey car park and suddenly became aware of a man about 2 or 3 stories up trying to climb over the rails. I then realised that there was
somebody behind him, a paramedic. This may not have been the brightest thing to do, but I couldn't think of anything better at the time. I just went and stood underneath where he was about to jump and managed to distract him sufficiently for the ambulance crew to get hold of him and prevent him from making that jump. So I was very pleased that I was there. I felt a bit silly at the time trying to just look up at a bloke and stand in his way, stop him from jumping, but at the end of the day he didn't jump.
You haven't got to be a special type of person, you've just got to have a heart for getting out there, rolling up your sleeves and helping.
It brings together some very diverse churchmanships, and it's totally irrelevant when we're on the street. We are doing Christ's work, helping people without counting any kind of cost or laying down any preconditions for the help we give.
Then the king will say to those on his right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father. Take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger and you invited me in. I needed clothes and you clothed me. I was sick and you looked after me. I was in prison and you came to visit me." Then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you?" The king will reply, "Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me."
The idea is that with all the electronics stripped off the tank, there'll be a lot of room there for artwork, and the idea is to start around one side with the scene of the cross and a figure kneeling at the cross, and just as a nice little touch, the figure of Robert is wearing the motorbike jacket that he always used to wear when he was out with me, which says Triumph on the back, and the word triumph in a sense says it all.
From your side, the world turned up the day to night, but your night was our light. And now you welcome me to surrender everything.